All right, let's talk about haikus.
Okay, yeah.
So what is a haiku, and what ignited your passion for haikus, and why might others share that passion for haikus?
Yeah, so I mean, so a haiku, I think, and this is where now if my wife was listening to this, she'd be horrified at my definition of what a haiku is. So it's basically like a very short poem, although it doesn't need to rhyme, which is what I always thought poems needed to do. 3 lines, it's 5 syllables, 7 syllables, and then 5 syllables. That's right, isn't it? And where did my passion for haikus come from? I'd always quite like, so before haikus, I'd always quite liked sort of randomly trying to make things rhyme, or like making up little like songs about things. Yes, randomly taking the piss usually. And then when I started at 𝗦𝗹𝗶𝗲, obviously the place that opens up a world of opportunity, making breakthrough happen. I do remember talking with James, who's a very inspirational colleague, and he spoke about, he had like a book of dreams, and I think it was him. I think it was him that was like forming them as haikus of his dreams within his book, I think. And I thought this was a great idea. So then there was something I just thought, oh, I'll make that into a haiku. Now that you said that's it, I thought, what are my interesting dreams? And I can't remember what I should have looked these up before. I can't remember exactly what the haiku was.
You can take a moment to think about it if you want.
I don't know if I won't be able to remember.
Yeah,
I can't remember. But it was about, when my son Patrick was first born, I went through a period of about 3 or 4 weeks of having these like mad night terror dreams where I would just think that he was in the bed with me and I'd lost him. So I would get up and I would like take the bedding off the bed, take the cushions off the sofa, take the pram apart to try and find him. Like all in that sort of state of semi-consciousness. And then wake up a little bit more and think, actually, no, he's just in the bedroom with my wife, he's fine. And that happened quite a few times. So when James had said about that and his interest in dreams being haikus, I thought, you know what, I'll add one to the list. So I did that, and it was very funny. And it's that challenge, it's a communication challenge of getting across the salient points, in that case of a whole dream or story, into 17 syllables is a nice challenge.
It's an incredibly difficult creative challenge.
It is, yeah. At least to like get the point across and it still be engaging to read. Now, I'm not saying my haikus are engaging to read, but I do enjoy the process. I would put it in the category of, as well, if you're doing it at work, it's an excellent procrastination. Like 5 minutes of just like free thinking time to come up with something. And then there were a few others came up. I shared them with my wife. She was very scathing about them, which then made it more funny to do. But yeah, I actually think there's a lot of, and you don't see it too much at work actually, but sometimes the more confident people are, the more they talk, which maybe then you'll get to the end of this and go, geez, Gareth, you're very confident. This has gone on for a very long time. But there is something about stripping back a message to like its most basic function, which I think is a very useful tool. And I think actually consultants at 𝗦𝗹𝗶𝗲 are generally pretty good at it, but it's something you can always get better at, succinctly getting a message across. And I think a haiku embodies that.
And I think what's particularly difficult and impressive about it is, like you say, you're distilling information down into such a concise but specific way. But that has to depend on your ability to deduce the meaning behind the situation. Yeah, in a way, like you have to consolidate the meaning in a situation, and then you have to reformat that meaning. You have to reformat that meaning in a way which fits the structure. Yeah. And then it has to be entertaining. Like, there's so many different constraints on this medium. Yeah. It's just fascinating that you can do it. And you seem to do it quite fast as well. I would know that. Yeah. There's been situations where I'm like, how did he pull that out of his sleeve? Yeah.
But that's part of the challenge. I guess the previous science work, you're always working within quite defined limitations and boundaries. And yeah, I really enjoyed the process of, I should do it more. Like, I generally only do it at work, but sometimes I think it would be cool to just try and do this at home. Well, with the things that my son's doing. Because yeah, it is that thing. You've got to distill the meaning out of, like, what is the point you want to get across? and then you've got to fit it into a very defined structure. And you've also got to think of words that will fit the structure. So it's not just writing a poem or like writing a journal. It is, that would be an interesting thing, to keep a journal as like a haiku journal.
Wow.
That would be very interesting.
Imagine if you got so good at it that you start to think in haikus.
Think in haiku. You're in the final meeting with a client, and the next steps is a haiku. I wonder if they'd notice. Yeah, that would be. Yeah, so I like it, and I think as well it was that thing coming to 𝗦𝗹𝗶𝗲. There's like a very different place to work. I just think, God, that's really cool. I'd never would have thought to keep a book about my dreams and write them in haiku. Wow. What an inspirational person this is. And no, actually, I can also participate in that. So whilst it's amazing, actually, it's not like it's a really high barrier to entry. So yeah. But I think there's a lot to be said for distilling the meaning of something and getting it across succinctly. Often has more impact.
What do you find yourself sort of gravitating towards when you're writing a haiku? I guess what sparks that initial, what compels you to distill the meaning in a situation? Is it is it a feeling? Is it a
feeling of like this is something unique or funny? So I remember I wrote one about you leaving because that was it was an important unique event, and I know you appreciate them as well. So I remember we'd spoken about, there was a lunchtime, which is what made us speak about this in the first place, and you were interested in poetry, and you said about which poems, does anyone know any poems off the top of their head? And I thought, well, actually, having read so many nursery rhymes, I do know some poems off the top of my head now.
I think the one that I shared was the jellyfish one. Do you remember the jellyfish one?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
I'll try and recount it. I wish I were a jellyfish that cannot fall downstairs. Of all the things I wish to wish, I wish I were a jellyfish that hasn't any cares and doesn't even have to wish. I wish I were a jellyfish that cannot fall downstairs.
Yeah.
I just love the absurdity of it.
Yeah. And there are I think that's a good thing about children's poetry, is there are quite a lot of real nonsensical ones. So like The Owl and the Pussycat is very nonsensical, makes no sense. The Jumblies is quite a long poem.
That's the one that you've almost memorized.
I've memorized the whole thing now from start to finish because Patrick likes it. So
maybe we can do a special episode where you come and just
like a poet laureate or something. Just read out Edward Lear's. I think it was Edward Lear did that one. Maybe not. Can't remember. But yeah, like some of them are just mad. Like, which is kind of that. I think is a nice thing about having a child. You can go over these things again that you might not necessarily read as an adult.